Good evening, everyone. Or good evening, everyone who can now hear me. Welcome to the council meeting. I'm Mayor Judy Brown. So we will proceed with the agenda. So the motion to adopt the agenda, Councillor Byrd.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth adopt the agenda for the 21st of April 2026 council meeting as presented.
Thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. I make note of the fact that Councillor Barry Smith is joining us tonight electronically. For the land announcement, we respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional home of various Indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse peoples. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest they wish to declare at this time? Oh, no, I see none. Thank you. The adoption of minutes, Councillor McRae.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Gary Waterfield, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth adopt the minutes of the March 24th, 2026 regular council meeting.
Thank you. Those in favor? That's unanimous. We have no delegations scheduled this evening or any presentations. So the consent agenda, moved by Councillor Smith, if you would. Okay.
I don't have anything on my screen.
So are you able to okay. Sorry. Councillor Waterfield, could you read it for Barry?
Heard me?
Could you read the motion for Barry? He doesn't have an agenda.
Certainly. That the following motions listed below in the consent agenda be passed and numbered accordingly.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to remove any item from the agenda? Councillor Waterfield and then Councillor Bolt.
Madam Mayor, I do not want to withdraw two motions per se, but I'd like clarification on items number 3 and number 8.
Okay, thank you.
So with your permission, I'll go ahead with my inquiry, or I'll wait till after Councillor Bolt.
Yes. Okay, we'll come back to you, Councillor Bolt.
Yes, Your Worship. I'm also concerned about number 3, and mine is more of a concern and a question, so we can proceed accordingly.
Okay. So then let's proceed with number 3, Councillor Waterfield.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. With regards to the presentation done by Gary Smith and Sarah Hansen at the Committee of the Whole meeting, and the presentation done on the Environmental Services Shop Project update, I just wanted to get clarification because I think it's really essential that citizens have the opportunity to attend an open house, to get a site visit on the garage itself, to be given an opportunity to review drawings, to get all of their questions answered, particularly in areas of concern such as environment, effect on the neighborhood, safety. Not only that, citizens, I really want to hear their recommendations and their suggestions. So I just want to get clarification that this is going to happen and when, and how does that relate to the tender process for the new garage? So I just want to get clarification on that, please.
Thank you. Would you care to provide that?
Through you, Chair. The update on that is that I've just returned from holidays, so I was catching up on emails and I reached out to Mr. Smith to ask about doing an on-site visit. So we initially asked for next Tuesday at 4. That's not going to work with schedule, so we just chatted now. And so we're going to do Wednesday at 1 p.m. next week. And so Martin has committed to being there as well. And so what we're going to do is just showcase the space and then also have the printed out site plans out as well. So we can go through that, answer any questions and talk about, you know, what brought us to this point and answer any concerns that they might have and be open to any feedback that they might have that or concerns that they may have as well.
For the clarification for those at home, Kathy is the Director of Community Services and one of her responsibilities is building. So she's done a great deal of background work into this project. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Kathy. So I just want to drill in on communication for a moment. There may be citizens that are not in the email chain that not only just live in the area, but throughout town that may be interested in this. And I think that effective communication and transparency is critical. So I'm a little concerned about just the email group knowing about this. And I'm wanting to have a proper open public notification of this opportunity. And also, could you talk a little bit about any input that citizens may have during that particular open house or process? So there's twofold questions. I'm concerned about effective communications so that any citizen of Perth that wants to attend can and know about it. And number two, what about the input that they have? How will that play into the tendering process?
So through the chair, great questions. So we wanted to do the immediate outreach to the neighbors who did a presentation, and we wanted to do an immediate reaction response to them in terms of let's be transparent. Let's make sure that you're heard and you can ask your questions. And it was recommended through council just to have an on-site visit. So we went and actioned that as soon as possible. What we're also going to do, which we had outlined, is that we are going to have an open house to the public. We'll do it likely downstairs in the courtroom, as we do for any project that we do for roads, or we did for the dog park a few years ago. So they can see the drawings at that time. Usually that's done after the tendering process for the open house itself. We usually do that for public spaces as well. You know, it's a public piece of property, but it's used for staffing. So it won't be open to the public, as you know, but at the same time, we're looking for feedback that there could be, but we want to make sure that in the immediacy that we have that connection with the neighbors, because I think that's where the concerns are coming from. We have also touched base with the Upper Canada District School Board. So we have their superintendent as well as the principal from Stewart School, just saying, we're not here for interference, but we would be remiss not to have an open line of communication. So we're here for any kind of conversations. So we're also inviting them out if they want to come next week to the site visit. And if not, based on just their timing and scheduling, we can also do a quick Teams check-in just to outline, you know, here's what the plan is for it. Because again, we want to make sure that they feel like they're in the know as well. How will this impact the tendering process? That's a good question. We're at 90% for our design, as you know, and we've put in the feasibility for the project itself. And we've also invested in the actual designs through the architect and the 4 engineers. I do think, though, if we're talking with the neighbors and we get input that's connected to it, there's an opportunity to have those conversations as we negotiate any finalizing contract with the awarded contractor. So when we put the tender out and we have the drawings put forward, we can also then, if we have feedback in the interim from our neighbors or from the public, then we can figure out if we want to or how we can incorporate anything like that. So what does that look like? For instance, I think one of the concerns was about public safety with the school. So I think, do we want to paint a crosswalk across the driveway and incorporate a stop sign? I think those are some safety measures that we think could adhere to it. It's already a school safety zone, so we can't implement anything beyond that. But if we're looking at something to help with the neighbors, can we incorporate some kind of fencing to help facilitate just a separation without impacting the trees there? So I think there's ideas there that may not necessarily impact the design build itself that we're at 90% for, I'm optimistic. But at the same time, we still want to connect with our neighbors and talk with them about the plans and logic that we got to, where we got to and how we got to. But I hope that answers your question in terms of the communication and transparency that we're trying to do with the on-site meeting next week, as well as the open house following the tendering process, while still moving forward with the tendering process and having a bit of flexibility there as we go forward.
Yes, sir.
Could I have one more follow-up, please, Mayor? So Kathy, I really appreciate your comprehensive answer, and hopefully citizens that are listening both in chambers and online now realize and feel that they will have input into the process before the tender is finally finalized. And I think that's very important. Is that correct?
I think we would like to do it in tandem. So we'd like to move forward with the tender based
Yeah.
on the timing.
Right.
Yeah.
So the tender will go out, but concurrently before the tender is actually awarded, input from citizens will be considered.
Prior to a contract is signed.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Did you have comments about number 8 as well? Oh, that was a. Okay. No problem. So, Kathy, the local loop newsletter is coming out fairly soon. Would the timing work in reference to Councillor Waterfield's concern about people who don't have email? Could it be put in that newsletter, or is the timing not work?
I don't know if the timing would work. It all depends on when we finalize the tender and when it gets out. But what we can commit to, which was what we do when we do have public information sessions, is we'll do direct mailouts within a certain region, within like around that property, that we can do direct mail for that through Canada Post. And then we can also utilize our social media and our website and have posters up. So we can hit it that way.
Thank you. Councillor Bolt and Councillor McCray.
Thank you, Your Worship. So thank you, Kathy. That is really encouraging news. I was the one, obviously, and the others concurred with me that we had to have a site visit. So I'm glad that's going to happen, because it's difficult to look at something on paper as opposed to being on the site. You alluded to the fact, and there was some misconceptions, let's just call that, when the concern about the trees came up. And you alluded to the fact that there's just a hedge and maybe a couple of trees that might have to come down. You alluded to the fact that the building isn't going to be closer to the neighbors' properties, but further away, and so on and so forth. The fact of the matter is, and I concur with Councillor Waterfield, this is a big undertaking for the town of Perth. This is a $4 million project, and this is a project that, it's going to impact how we do business in the town. I mean, as far as maintaining the town for many years to come. I fully understand why the neighbors are concerned, and as I am, because I'm a neighbor as well, and I look forward to these meetings. I think that we have to engage the public as much as we can with major projects like this that could potentially impact them. Based on what I've seen from your report now and clarification, I don't think it's as serious as I thought it was at the first, but I think this process is well due, and I applaud you for doing that, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor McCray.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I want to thank Councillor Waterfield for setting the direction of this conversation regarding the Public Works Garage. I concur that there needs to be further discussion, analysis, and consultation. We're spending $4 million of taxpayers' monies. We need to get it right. We need to get it right for the community, and we need to get it right for our staff who are working in that facility. So I concur with the public consultation that's going to happen. To state that the fleet won't grow, which came up at the last committee of the whole, is totally an oversight. The next council may very well increase the fleet to meet the needs of the road maintenance and snow removal, especially with the growth of Cavan and Perthmore. And after doing a site visit at a recommendation from community members, I'm in question, and this question is for you, Kathy, if this site is big enough with all the piles of aggregate that are piled up against the Tay Valley or very close to the perimeter of the Tay Valley. And with winter and snow removal of ice and snow, will we actually have the room to safely move our fleet around safely? So those are the questions. That's a question I like to ask.
Sure. So through the chair, we work with our engineers to determine that. Like they look at the space that's available for that. And then when we look at the aggregate that we want to store in a more contained way, actually, which we're pretty excited about, we would have to be working with the RVCA for them to approve that. So we can't move forward without them permitting us that use. And if not, then we'd have to pivot accordingly. And then we'd work with the engineers in terms of looking at what does that look like for the fleet, but also just for the entire site plan itself.
And one additional plan, because I now sit on the Climate Change Advisory Panel, I'm wondering if there's another location where we could put that aggregate so that it's not on the floodplain. And if there is flooding, it's not going to end up dredging into the Tay Valley or to the Tay River.
So through the chair, I can completely assure you that nothing will be put in the floodplain that the RVCA doesn't approve for that aggregate. We're not allowed. So we've been responsible from the get-go, and we want to make sure that we have to adhere to the guidelines. So when that site plan is reviewed by RVCA and they're looking at it right now, they're looking at where we want to place the aggregate. And if they say to us, that's a no, then we have to pivot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Councillor, Deputy Mayor.
So Kathy, just so I'm clear here, so is the final design of the building basically done? I was away for that meeting, so I've just.
We're
just got-
90%, yeah.
Okay, so is that final design going to come back to council for final approval before it goes to tender?
I mean, at this stage, what we showed you at our last update, which had the 90%, that's what we had. And so there hasn't been much change since that time.
Okay, so did council formally approve by vote to go ahead with the building as designed?
To go to tender.
Go to tender? Council passed a motion for that?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
If I can just add, sorry, just through that, I think what will be great is that we go to tender, we'll get the market price and we'll get a better understanding, and that will give us the facts. In the meantime, we get the public input, and I think that will give council reassurance in terms of what this project is. And I'm actually very excited too for staff. They've been in that trailer for 4 years, and it's exciting to think about, you talk about growth and building a building that meets our needs, but also really aligns with just meeting a need currently in terms of the current status of what they're working in. So I think once we get the full picture with the tender submitted and the public input, I hope council feels more reassured by that.
Okay, Councillor McCray.
There are a number of people through you, Chair, there are a number of people here who are sitting in our chamber this evening, and they have concerns in regards to the alternative sites that were presented to our council in terms of the pros and the cons of each one of them. And I know that one of the important factors was the servicing piece. Would you be able, in a snapshot, just to give a capsule of what those other sites were and the pros and cons with those other sites? Could you do that for us, Kathy? Just so that our people in the chamber have a better understanding of what came before the selection in regards to this site.
Sure. Through you, Chair, you're making me go back into my historic knowledge a little bit, but that will be one of the things that we do at the on-site visit next week, is go through that feasibility study that we did. So one of the options was north of Highway 7 and behind A&B Ford. We have 19 acres of property, and we got a civil engineer assessment about what would it cost to get roads, water, sewer there. And that would be close to about $5 million. We also looked at our vacant property, which is where we put the snow currently off Franktown Road. That's within the floodplain, and that's a no-go. Plus, I believe we'd have to get servicing as well. The industrial park, we'd have to get servicing for it. So again, that's another one. I think we talked about Drew Farm. I think just because it's so vast and it's such a greenfield, everyone thinks that that's a space where we can develop. But again, you'd have to get servicing and it would cost about the same. So when we look at the existing space that we're using, it meets currently what we're currently doing with the existing garage. So that was an option there, but we did do an assessment, but I have to go back and look at the study that we did, but I'm going to bring that to the group anyway next week.
And just one additional question, can you also, for those people that are sitting here today, reiterate the price associated to servicing?
It was up to $5 million.
Okay, that's $5 million tax dollars. It's food for thought.
Deputy Mayor?
No, my only comment is when the tender does come back, I'm going to be asking for a financial report that tells us how we're going to afford this and what the impact will be on the 2027 potential tax increases and overall budget. Because I know there's a lot of items in the asset management plan that need to be dealt with, and I don't want to tie the hands of the next council and drop a $4 million project on that they have no control over, since it's going to be pretty close to when this council ends and the new council starts.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment, and it's obvious from how Kathy's answered the questions. We have a highly professional staff that follow the regulations, like nothing's going to be put in the floodplain. I appreciate people's desire to be fully informed. That's great, but let's just remember that we do have very well qualified staff, and they do it right. Okay, so there are no amendments to the consent agenda, so the original motion stands. Those in favor of the consent agenda? Thank you. So we are going on to number 10, motions. Councillor McCray, if you could read that one, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a long one. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Gary Waterfield. Whereas a well-functioning and up-to-date assessment system supports strong communities and makes the province an attractive place to invest, and whereas property assessments in Ontario have not been updated in over a decade, making them the most outdated in Canada, while provinces such as Alberta and British Columbia update assessments annually to reflect current market conditions, and whereas the prolonged pause in the reassessment cycle has created significant distortions in assessed values, resulting in inequities amongst property classes. And whereas outdated assessments negatively impact investments, decisions, economic competitiveness, municipal planning, and the disproportionately affected independent small businesses. And whereas reassessments are designed to be revenue neutral for the municipality, ensure fairness in taxation, maintain public confidence in the property tax system, and support long-term municipal financial planning. And whereas a coalition of municipalities, chambers of commerce, tourism organizations, small businesses, and major property owners have called upon the Government of Ontario to update property assessments. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth hereby call upon our Premier of Ontario and the Minister of Finance to direct the Municipal Property Assessments Corporation to properly resume the regular property assessment cycle. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, and the Honourable Peter Bethlenfalvy, Minister of Finance, the Honourable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Municipal Properties Assessment Corporation for their consideration and timely action.
Thank you. When you were in elementary school, you must have gotten high marks in reading.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed? Thank you. So now 10.2, Councillor Bolt.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Ed McPherson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth increase the cash in lieu of parking fee to $10,000 per parking space.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Councillor McCray.
I'm not totally confident with this motion and I have reservations. Although $10,000 in lieu of one parking space may be discouraging a small developer, it may have little or limiting impact on a larger developer who purchases an infill property and decides to build a three-floor apartment complex. As stated by our deputy mayor, the lack of tenant parking spills out onto the street and bottlenecks traffic. To state, I would like to amend this motion to include that these funds specifically are earmarked for the investigation and/or the development of a parking garage in the business improvement area. We are losing shoppers because it's such a hassle to find parking in the downtown core. And when we lose parking, we lose shoppers and we lose businesses. All you have to do is walk down Gore Street lately and you'll see the number of vacant stores. When one goes, it has a rippling effect on other stores in the area. That's what I'm recommending for an amendment to this motion.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's an amendment or a totally contrary proposal. Councillor Waterfield. Oh, Councillor Bird.
You were first.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I would be, if it is going to be a separate motion or if it's going to be an amendment, I would be happy to second Councillor McCray's position on that and proposal. I just have a question in relation to this. It's when I ask all the times to confirm it. Council has directed in the past, but I don't know if it's written down anywhere in some kind of policy or bylaw, that our position is you provide the number of parking spots that are required for the building. It's only in extremity that we would choose this. We've expressed that a number of times to staff, but I don't know, and I'm asking the question, perhaps the CAO can answer it. Is it written down anywhere, this council, or at some point, do we have to add it in some kind of form of a motion that that's our position? That we're not just taking this as the next chance to get a development. Is that, I guess I'm asking, is our position going to be to a developer, if you can't do it with the parking spaces, then I guess your project doesn't work?
Would you care to respond? Okay.
So our requirements for parking, as I'm sure you're aware, are laid out in the zoning bylaw. So it is a bylaw for the town that lists parking requirements for any type of parking, be it residential, commercial, industrial, and then breaks it down into further components of those things. And so those are the town requirements by law under the zoning bylaw. Developers can choose to ask to modify that zoning bylaw. So you've seen many come before you, particularly apartment dwellings where they're looking for a reduction in parking. And at that point in time, your bylaw says you must do this. The developers are asking for a variance or a change from that. And at that point, it's the decision of council as a whole. You all make the decision together to, yep, we're going to waive this much parking, or absolutely not. We are sticking with what our bylaw says. And then that's done through a zoning bylaw amendment. So yes, we have it in policy and in bylaw what the parking requirements are, but based on the recommendations of the planner and the decision of council, those can be changed. So with respect to the $10,000 per parking space, we've upped that mainly as, like you said, a bit of a deterrent because we're seeing a lot of requests for that. There is absolutely the option to not have that all or lesser or more or whatever you want. But as a whole, as a council, you could say, anytime someone comes in with a parking variance request, you can just say no. But it has to be done obviously with the majority of the group. If you don't have that, I would suggest that it's probably good to have that deterrent in place because you're going to have a lot of these requests. We've just seen one, I believe, in Ottawa, right by our rail line, to be fair, but it's like 1,500 units with no parking. So yeah, we don't have transit here. So I do think that having parking is critical, and whatever way you go about trying to protect that, in my opinion, is important. However, I know we've received emails from the other side saying we should be trying to have less, and that helps with the carbon footprint and everything else. And there's two sides to everything, of course. But ultimately that decision in the bylaw is there. This is what is required. And the council chooses whether they're going to let that go or not.
Councillor Waterfield.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Through you to Joanna. Joanna, with regards to funds that we've collected as a town to date for parking in lieu, where has that gone? And number two, with regards to any future parking in lieu funding, I would like to think that we have that as a separate bucket within our budget, that those funds are used for improving our transportation parking needs within town for both active transportation and for parking. And I certainly concur with the intent of Councillor McCrae's concern about parking, particularly in the downtown with our tourists and so forth. Parking is really very much a concern. And looking forward to maybe having a parking garage available certainly would help in the downtown core. It does not help in the outer areas of town whereby we have suburban streets that, because of the fact that we've given parking in lieu to some developers, we have residents that can barely get out of their driveways. So I just want to get clarification with regards to the funding we're getting from these parking in lieu. Where are they to date, and where are they going in the future? Are they going to be used for more transportation innovation, be it active transportation or parking or other?
Okay, so that's like a multi-part question. I'll try to take it step by step. Since I've been here, which is close to 4 years, we've probably, I don't have the budget in front of me, but just trying to remember the different things we've done. We've probably collected about between $20,000 and $30,000 in cash in lieu of parking for various parking requests. To be clear, that's not enough to even create one parking space, which is about 40. We are going to start to see these requests come in, but we're not even at the stage where we could even complete one full parking space. So that's the first thing. The second thing is absolutely the cash in lieu of parking is a great concept. In theory, we want to collect money. We want to use it to make parking. However, if someone has built an apartment or whatever development, and it's not right within the downtown core, the parking problem itself will be outside of the downtown core, not in the, like, there will also be a problem in the downtown core, but specifically it will be around that development, right? But it's not often that you see that cash in lieu used to solve the problem in the area that created the problem. So that money does all flow into one GL account for parking. And at the time when there is sufficient, which I would suggest would be a long time from now if we're looking at a parking garage, then yes, it can be used for things like purchasing a property, demolition of a building, engineering, design of parking spaces, and creating those parking spaces. My suggestion has been in the past and continues to be that at some point we do a master parking plan for the town to determine the appropriate location for parking. I think once we finished our active transportation plan and we're working on our traffic master plan, and that will set us up really well to sort of understand where the traffic is occurring both on foot and in car. And then we can start from there to determine, okay, where does it make sense to put these parking spaces, or is it a few parking spaces here, there, or is it one big structure? And then move forward as we go along. If we collect cash in lieu, then you can build those things. If on the flip side, like what we just talked about, we're just saying you've got to provide parking, then there will be no cash in lieu to do those parking spaces in the downtown core. So you've it's all interrelated. I don't know if I'm being clear.
I think I saw Councillor Bolt first and then Councillor McCray.
Thank you, Chair. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. In terms of a parking garage in downtown Perth for the BIA area, sure, it's great idea, but we're miles apart here. I mean, we're miles before we'll ever have that. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see the cost that it would take to put one up. Where would you put it up? What kind of parking fees would you have to charge to make it even worthwhile and achievable financially? I'm a prime example of where cash in lieu doesn't work. I live beside a 6-unit apartment building that might be 10 years old. And without going into a lot of the details about how that one came about, there was never enough parking for that building, in my opinion. Well, I live beside it, so I know for a fact. And I was just speaking to one of my neighbors last night who concurs with me. I mean, you got to have your head on a swivel just to back out of my driveway because there's cars parked on both sides of the road, and there's pedestrians and so on and so forth. And that's where the cash in lieu falls apart. I like the fact that you have stated that we as a council or any council going forward can say, you know what, it's 1.25 per, and if you can't live with that, then don't even come to us. That's the way I feel about it. In terms of assessing or addressing future parking needs, yes, your master plan has to go forward, and that's where we can look at, everything, including the BIA. Because let's face it, as this town develops and our population grows to God knows what, there's going to be even more pressure for downtown parking. But to put parking, access parking onto the streets, as you alluded to, of the neighbors where the actual project is being built is unfair. And like I say, I'm living proof of that, and I every day think about that as I try to navigate out of my own driveway, and my next door neighbors are concurring with me. So I think that it's important that we going forward start looking at whether we even want to allow parking in cash in lieu of parking. And I'm the one that said, I didn't think 5,000 was enough. I don't even think 10,000 is enough to deter it. I'm not trying to be anti-development here, but I think we have to be very mindful of how it's going to affect the people who live on the streets where these developments are occurring. So as far as the amendment is concerned, I don't support the amendment because I think it's two different things here. I like the intent, but I don't support it. Thank you.
Just make a comment as what Councillor Bolt has said. We're talking about two different things. We're talking about parking downtown, and we're talking about cash in lieu of a parking space where it might be an apartment building, a duplex, or whatever that's in a space that's not downtown. I have been on various parking committees over my time on council, and every study comes back that there is no shortage of parking downtown. It's simply that people want to park very close to the business that they're going to. But that's the result that came back from the various studies. There is no shortage of parking downtown. Councillor McCray.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, what I'm hearing from Joanna is that it's, according to our council, it's on a per basis decision. So depending upon the variables involved in the decision regarding parking, our council can make that decision. the worst case scenario then would be that if we can't come to a compromise with the developer, then we would potentially offer them the option of paying $10,000 for a parking space. I'm having a little bit of a misunderstanding in regards to a master traffic plan and a master parking plan. I would think that they would both work in concert of one another. And maybe I am a little proactive in regards to my motion, but I just want to read it again. And what it said, it was to include that the funds were earmarked for investigation and development of a parking garage in the business area. I said investigation. That was the term I used. So I don't have a problem with others supporting that, but I'm definitely planting that seed. I am your representative on the Business Improvement Association, and I'm hearing this loud and clear from members of the BIA.
Okay, so we've got two different topics here. The first, which is a motion in the agenda, is the cash in lieu of parking, $10,000 per fee. Would like to call the question on that. Those in favor? Okay. Oh, Barry, sorry, were you in favor?
No, that was a nay for me.
Okay, and mine is a nay. So the next topic is one that Councillor McCray has brought up about investigation into building a parking garage downtown. There was no seconder for that motion. Councillor Byrd, Councillor Deputy Mayor McPherson.
I'm wondering if we can move this back to a COW meeting, Councillor, because again, we're discussing stuff on a one-off basis here at council. There could be a lot of different types of investigations. One could be not necessarily a parking garage, but either way, I'm going to say the same thing later on tonight. Stuff shouldn't be done at the last minute at council and asking us to vote on stuff when we're not informed. So I would appreciate if you would just send it off to the clerk and have her put on the agenda for a future COW meeting. We can discuss it then, because there's a lot of stuff I don't think any of us understand from a planning point of view on this. And I think we're just going around in circles, and I'm not going to vote in favor of anything that I don't have an informed decision on.
Thank you. If I could remind council that we operate by staff reports. We don't consider stuff from the floor at random. So, okay, go ahead, Councillor Byrd.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I take it, it's a very good point that both the Deputy Mayor and you make. The question I had in relation to being Chair of Finance is, I may have misheard, but I thought Councillor McCray was talking about the funding, not so much a motion on a downtown parking lot. And the question I ask is, and this would require a staff report, is that the intent that we are at some point going to discuss, so that the director's here and she can hear it now? We heard earlier that the funding from in lieu parking goes into a general reserve. What we would be looking for was a specific reserve to use for parking anywhere in the town. It doesn't matter where the development is, whether it's north or south, east or west. It's for dealing with parking issues in the future. That's what the funding is. That would require a separate account, I believe. I think the director was nodding at me.
Sorry, it is in a separate fund. It already is in a separate area for, sorry, no, it is in a specific GL account for
Thank you very much.
Parking.
Okay, thank you.
So might I suggest that the motion be changed, that asking staff to investigate the feasibility of a parking garage downtown and report back in 3 months. Yes, so that would have to be put on and agenda. Councillor McCray?
Your worship, thank you very much. And I concur with the recommendation made by our deputy mayor, and I will put that forward to our CAO and to Amanda Knoll in regards to an upcoming committee of the whole. Thank you very much. No problem.
Do you have any comments, Mr. CAO? So you have the motion? You want it referred to a council agenda?
Yeah, I don't think she's gonna make the motion. She's just gonna talk with us about getting it on an agenda. So we can go ahead to the next thing.
Okay. But the motion's been moved and seconded.
Yeah, the one for the 10,000 in per parking space. We voted on that and it's unanimous. So we can go ahead on to bylaws. Because Isabel's not putting her motion forward. She's just gonna talk to staff.
Okay. We will put this to one side for the moment. Thank you. Moving ahead to bylaws. Deputy Mayor, could you read that, please?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Smith. Be it resolved, the Council of Town of Perth has read the following bylaws the first, second, and third time short passed and signed by the mayor and clerk. Number 1, bylaw number 3358-140, zoning bylaw amendment ZBL 01-2026-1, 1 Rogers Road, Bentley Crane, EGIS Canada Limited. Bylaw number 5258, tender award ES 2026-03, Robinson Street, Stewart Street, and Thomas Avenue reconstruction. Bylaw number 5259, updated street naming and property addressing bylaw. Bylaw number 3909-0, repeal street naming and property addressing policy. Bylaw number 5260, award of request for proposals PS 2026-01, supply and delivery of 1 rescue apparatus from Fort Garry Fire Truck Stock Unit. Number 6, bylaw number 5261, procurement of John Deere zero-turn lawnmower from Premium Equipment. Number 7, bylaw number 5262, write-off of outstanding provincial offenses accounts receivable deemed uncollectible for the year 2025. And number 8, bylaw number 5263, delegation of authority bylaw to manage the restricted acts of council during lame duck periods regarding the 2026 municipal election.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on any one of those items? Councillor Bolt?
Yes, your worship. I just have a question with respect to the procurement of the zero-turn lawnmower. I'm wondering if somebody would want to speak to that.
Martin is going to come forward and speak to that.
Martin, so my question is, did the, as you know, we always put on the lens for the climate change department. Was there a lens put on this for climate change when the procurement was initiated?
Yeah, so the lens, so to speak, was the emission standards that the equipment would. So twofold on that is, one is the equipment that it's replacing is an older model, right, with less emissions. So the new model would be more efficient in that matter, and contains the emissions controls that it's supposed to have.
So the reason for my question is that, and I alluded to this at our last meeting, we're always, it's always being put forward that we should consider a battery operated Zamboni, a battery operated truck, a battery operated whatever. And I don't disagree that those are good things, but I've always alluded to the fact that at what cost. So I think one of my fellow councillors was a bit surprised that he wasn't notified, as we all could have been, what the options were with respect to that. I agree that modern day diesel engines are better because of the way they're designed and the DEF fluid and so on you use with them. But I think it's a well-known fact that diesel is of all of the machinery that's used is the worst for our environment. So I only question this because I personally feel that maybe more research should have been done into is there, for example, a unit out there that would do the job of the unit you're procuring that runs on battery, or something that isn't as harmful to our environment. And yes, folks, you're hearing that from me. I'm always the one that says, don't spend a whole lot of money to save the environment if in the long run, it's the effect is going to outweigh the cost. So, but I'm questioning it for that reason and that reason alone. And that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, so I guess to answer that question again, so for the specifications that are required for that unit, for the confines that that equipment is supposed to operate in, that is the best piece of equipment for the job. There are other pieces of equipment, 100%, but would they perform to the level that we would need them to? So I would say no to that answer. And so then therefore they're not even factored in the equation because they wouldn't perform to how we needed them anyway, if that makes sense.
Sorry, and just to jump in, I think the councillor both asked a question last time about the difference in time between the deck sizes as well, and the deck size on the mowing path on the EV model, after some number crunching afterwards, would take about 20% longer to cut our grass. That has implications for staff time and everything else as well. So
yeah, so there's an efficiency component. And that's what I mean by specifications, like the size for the application.
So if I could, through the chair, so then that leads me to the question, simply put, did you research to see if there was a 72-inch mower out there that works on battery versus diesel that would cut the grass just as quickly?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe one exists for what we would need.
Thank you. Anyone else? Call a question, those in favor? Okay. 11.2, Councillor Waterfield.
Be resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth has read the following bylaw a first, second, and third time short, passed and signed by the mayor and clerk. Bylaw number 3250-4, amend planning fees and charges, cash in lieu of parking fee.
Thank you. I see no one's hand up, so those in favor? Thank you. Staff reports. Joanna, if you would like to come into the hot seat. Councillor Waterfield, if you could read that, please, and then we'll take questions.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth, 1, pass bylaw number 5264, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a multi-year agreement with PSD Citywide Inc. for the provision of building and planning permitting management software, having been read the first, second, and third time short, passed and signed by the mayor and clerk, and 2, authorize funding of the $6,400 budget variance through the building reserve as presented in report 2026 Council 4.1.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is on this report, but really it's credit to Mr. LaRue, our chief building official, who I brought up here. Brian Gass and Steve have both worked on this process for the last few years. And so Steve has much more knowledge than I actually do about this project. So I'm going to let him answer the questions. But effectively, we're just looking at finally getting sort of a portal or an electronic system in place for building permit submissions that will help as larger developers come to town and hopefully make access easier to some residents of the town of Perth looking to do development.
Yeah, as the report says, the motion is for software that's going to provide electronic capabilities to both building and planning. It'll provide in the end, it will provide a portal for electronic submission of building permit applications and planning applications. It'll further provide us a tracking capability so we can get away from our standard paper applications that we have now in our paper filing systems. It will also provide us increased efficiencies in reviewing of files and of creating reports for many departments and many other concerned parties out there, like the MPAC, that want our reports. It'll make that type of an activity much more efficient.
Okay. Councillor Bolt.
So through the chair, most important question, will it speed things up?
I can tell you right now, the paper process that we're currently going through is very time consuming.
I can appreciate that. And that's the one thing that I, and I'm sure all my fellow councillors get, is why does it take so long to get a building permit processed and so on and so forth? Nothing against you guys. I understand what you're going through, but I really want to hear that it's going to speed things up.
Yeah, it is a complicated process to review a permit, and even with deficiencies, electronic.
Would you speak into the mic, please?
Sorry, it's still going to take the time that it takes to do a review. We have to be comprehensive in those exercises and complete that activity.
Councillor McCray first, then Councillor Waterfield.
I think it's important that all councillors understand that Joanna, on an ongoing basis, we all know this, does a report in regards to where we stand and our status in as we move forward with all of the different developments that are coming forward. And there's two players in this situation. It's a little bit like a ping pong ball going back and forth. And after reviewing those, I try to review them on an ongoing basis. And actually, I'm continually questioned, just as you stated, Councillor Bolt, by especially members who are involved with the Chamber of Commerce, what's happening in regards to different developments. And it's just come to my attention that in a lot of cases, the ball is in the court of the developer. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of those that are listening. We can only do what we can do when the ball is in their court. They are in control and we are waiting for those documents.
Absolutely. If you read Joanna's bi-weekly report, so the last line is waiting for the developer.
Yeah.
Councillor Waterfield.
Waiting for a site plan.
Thank you, Mayor Brown, through you to Steve. Took the words right out of my mouth, Councillor Bolt. I was going to ask about speed, but number two, is this a fairly user-friendly system?
Yes, we did, through the chair, we did a comparison with two other municipalities. And we compared 3 service providers and we tested them on about 50 questions. And one of them definitely was related to that. And they came out scoring the highest. They scored 70, while CGIS and Cloud Permit scored a 44. So we were definitely impressed by the capabilities. It's a fairly robust system for a municipality of our size. And therefore, we're gaining the benefits of what would normally service maybe a little larger municipality. And that bodes well for us for the potential growth of the municipality. So we'll be ready for what's coming down the road.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, call
If
the
I may. Sorry, just to Councillor Waterfield and Bolt's comments, where I live, they use Citywide already, and I filled out a building permit the other day. And clearly I had to have my drawings and everything done before that, but from the time I logged on to the website to the time I had the permit submitted and paid, it was about 5 minutes.
Wow,
Wow.
that's great.
Yeah, now we'll wait for the permit, but.
Call the question, those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. The next one is 12.2. Councillor McCray, if you could read that one, please.
Be it resolved, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor David Bird. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth approve the proposed modification to Town Hall schedule from May 4th to September 25th, 2026, as presented in the report 2026 Council 4-2.
Thank you. Scott, do you have the proposed schedule so you can put it up on screen? Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that this report be referred to the May Cal meeting, so we follow the proper procedures and policies that we follow with every other thing we try and do as council members, that businesses discussed at Cal gives us time to ask a lot of questions, and it gives us a 2-week period to try and, if we have other further questions. Again, I feel like I'm being asked to make a decision at the last minute that doesn't follow the normal Cal procedures. Because this is a policy change for the town of Perth, and council makes policy. So I don't want to put the CEO through a bunch of work tonight to discuss stuff that I think this should be done at the Cal, just like I said earlier with the other.
You're making a
report, but I did-
motion to defer to the next Cal.
I already did it.
Any questions? Those in favor of that motion? And so the motion as amended would be resolved the town of Perth proposed modified town health schedule subsequent to further consideration and the May, whatever the date is, Cal meeting. Okay.
I'm just making a motion to refer this report to the May Cal meeting, nothing to do with the motion on the floor.
Okay, yes, simply a motion to defer. Okay, those in favor? That's carried. Going ahead to council committee, local board and external board reports. County council. One of the topics that created a lot of discussion came up about a month ago, and it was a motion to say that county council was in favor of prejudice, and in particular prejudice against anti-Semitism. So that passed at the last meeting. And then hospital board, we had a retreat last Sunday. As I'm sure you all know, that there's a perpetual shortage in the budget, and also the provincial government does not provide for equipment in the hospitals. So we feel a need for greater fundraising. Amazingly, the foundation fundraised $6.1 million for the MRI in the last couple of years. Increased fundraising is necessary. There is a need for greater collaboration between the foundation and the hospital itself. So we had a guest speaker, and he elaborated on different ways to fundraise. Okay. Climate Change Advisory Panel. Barry, did you have a report? I'm not on that committee anymore.
On CCAP?
Yes.
Yes, I do. It was about nominations primarily, and Kirsten Browse was elected chair of the committee. And one of the new members, Suzanne, I don't know if I can get her last name correct. I don't have it in front of me. Lapierre, I think, or something like that. She accepted as well. So we have a new chair and a new vice chair. And also the Trasher Hunt was scrapped for this year. As the organization, we had too many canceled meetings and not enough time to organize it all. So it's been deferred until next year.
Thank you. Next one is Heritage Perth Advisory Panel.
That was canceled.
Okay, thank you. Leonard County OPP Detachment Board.
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Striking Committee.
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Leonard County Climate Action Working Group.
Yes, Chair, the Lanark County Climate Action Working Group won't be meeting until May the 5th of 2026.
Okay. The BIA.
Okay, in regards to the BIA, as you are all aware, at our last committee of the whole, we had Brody Berrigan, who's the chair, give a report to the committee of the whole meeting on the strat plan. And I also sit on and we haven't had a meeting since then. I also sit as part of the promotional committee of the BIA. And Nancy Wing has brought forth an extensive marketing plan for the promotion committee of BIA. We are working on making Once Upon a Christmas, which is one of our big stellar events, bigger and better with the European vibe. So that's what we're working on at this present time.
Thank you. And Chamber of Commerce?
Chamber of Commerce. As you all know, this weekend is the great weekend of the 50th Festival of Maples. And at our next meeting isn't till next week. You were all members, or a lot of you were involved in the AGM that took place for the Chamber of Commerce. Our next meeting, the focus is going to be again on our strategic plan. And I just wanted to make a comment that I'm happy to see in the agendas coming forward that Joanna Bowes will be presenting our development plans for our community to our Chamber of Commerce. So that's about it.
Thank you. Councillor Waterfield, Library Board.
On March 25th, I met with the Indigenous Advisory Circle, and I did not attend the Library Board meeting yesterday because that was the same time as our volunteer party at the Crystal Palace.
Okay. RBCA.
RBCA, quite a number of meetings. I'll share some highlights. On March 25th, later in the day, wearing my hat as a member of the Friends of the Tay Watershed, a councillor and as chair of the RBCA, I attended their AGM. The guest speaker was RBCA General Manager Summer Casgrain Robertson. It was an excellent meeting and a chance to really wear my RBCA hat and speak with a very important partner organization. On March 26th at the RBCA office, we had a 60th anniversary celebration. All staff and board members were present. The building was overflowing. It began with welcoming remarks from myself. I had the pleasure of presenting years of service certificates to staff members. We had an anniversary cake. We had all kinds of displays on the history of the RBCA, followed by a social time. Then I stayed in the building for later on in the evening. I chaired a board meeting later on that day. On April the 9th, I chaired an audit committee meeting at the RBCA. There has not been a traffic advisory working group meeting since our last council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor McCrory.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure whether this is a question I would address to the Lanark County Traffic Advisory Group or to County Council or to the OPP board. We had another accident today at the corner of Highway 7 in Drummond, and they're getting to be more regular. And my concern is there any way we can contact the authorities to do a deep dive and come up with a plan for immediate signage or something there so that, before somebody is killed. So I don't know how we go about this. But I just thought maybe that has something to do with the traffic advisory working group or maybe county council or the OPP. I know it's an MTO. We have that coming forward with the MTO, but this is becoming a regular thing, these accidents at the corner of Drummond and Highway 7.
No. Okay.
So this has come up before with the OPP board. According to what we received was the MTO isn't going to change the signaling on the highway with the lights until the new highway is built. And the only solution to this is to make sure there's a traffic turning lane in the center of the thing. I totally disagree with the MTO. The OPP was frustrated with their response. I personally attended an accident at that corner where a young child was trapped in a vehicle and it was a bad accident. And I said that to the ministry rep and he didn't seem to really care. So until Highway 7 seems to be rebuilt, we're stuck.
Well, I think that's rather sad because somebody could be potentially killed before that happens.
I know, we've spoken to the ministry more than once about this, and they just keep saying, well, nothing until we rebuild Highway 7 as a whole. And that could be 2027, and they may shift it again and ahead another year. Okay, Councillor Bolt, 13.13.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Isabel Ann McCray. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Perth receive the council committee, local boards, and external reports and minutes as presented.
Thank you. Those in favor? It's unanimous. We have no new business. Any questions from the media? I don't see any media present. Oh, yes, there is.
Olivia with Inside Ottawa Valley. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The next meeting date of council is Tuesday, May 26, 2026 at 5:30 PM. I will be chair. There is no closed session scheduled. And then 19.1, Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth pass bylaw number 5265, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Town of Perth at its meeting held 21st of April 2026. Be read a first, second and third time short, passed and signed by the Mayor and Clerk.
Thank you. Those in favor? And Councillor Bolt, number 20.
Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Ed McPherson. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Perth adjourn the April 21st, 2026 council meeting at 6:40 PM.
Thank you. Those in favor? That's carried.
Good night, everyone.